So today I'd like to do something a little bit different. I've always intended to do reviews, but I really haven't done a lot of reviews. Now, the things that I want to review are kind of old, but that's okay, because if you don't know about these things, you really should. 3 movies. There have been lots of movies made about magic and magicians over the last 50, 60 years, even longer than that. But these 3 have made an impact on me for different reasons, and I wanted to share them with you. The first one here is called The Prestige, and it was made in 2006, and it stars Hugh Jackman, Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Scarlett Johansson, and David Bowie. The cast is incredible. I mean, for the cast alone, you should be watching the movie. But there's a whole lot more to this movie than that. Now, I've told you in the past, and it's true, I am a huge fan of the Victorian era. So I will see a movie that's based in that period, regardless of what it's about. Doesn't make any difference. But The Prestige is set in that period. It's in the late 19th century, which I consider to be the golden age of magic. The late 19th century, the early part of the 20th century. This is when Keller was performing, Herman was performing, Houdini was performing. Great performers worked in that period. And so a lot of producers, I suppose, look at that period as the golden age, as I do, and when they want to make a movie about magicians, they set it in that period, naturally. But The Prestige is set in that period. Michael Caine plays a little bit of a illusion mechanic, a creator. Hugh Jackman is a magician. Christian Bale is a magician. What's significant about the film is that the Christian Bale character and the Hugh Jackman character, there's a rivalry between the 2 of them. And they're constantly pressing each other to see how far they will go. And they go to some extremes that I think the average person watching this movie are going to say, not a chance, no way, it's beyond belief. But when I saw the movie, and knowing what I know about magic history, I thought, maybe. Maybe. I mean, I think there's still hyperbole here, of course. Of course, it's a Hollywood production. But, and of course, and if you don't know, I'm not going to reveal too much of the plot and too much of what happens, but it takes a turn into science fiction. Let's just put it that way. It's not even probable. But I think what it illustrates, though, is the extremes to which a person will go to sometimes in order to perfect their craft or in order to get the upper hand in performance. And Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale really bring this home to roost, and I really appreciate their performances in this film for that reason. Scarlett Johansson plays an assistant that works between the 2 of them. Michael Caine, again, plays a bit of a mechanic. Now, David Bowie, you know, even today, there are names. If I see the name Johnny Gone, you know, everybody goes, wow, Johnny Gone. If I say Jim Steinmeier, you know, these are names of people that have created illusions for the likes of David Copperfield and David Blaine and other top name performers. And so David Bowie plays an inventor, creator, who is hired to create illusions for, I think it's the Hugh Jackman character. But it's just an outstanding film. It's incredibly well done, incredibly well shot. The mood is perfect. It's dark and moody. It's just delicious. So if you have not seen The Prestige, pick it up, take a look. I don't think you'll regret it. If you're a magic fan, it's a must-see, absolutely. And then there's The Illusionist. Now here's something a bit unusual. These 2 films were made in the same year. I mean, I will go year after year after year waiting for Hollywood or a major production company to do something significant for the magical arts, and it just never seems to happen. But here it is, 2006. I don't know what got in the water in 2006, but in fairly close proximity to each other, these 2 are coming out. And I believe I saw them both at the Senator Theater, which, you know, if you're watching from anywhere other than Baltimore, you're not going to know what that is. But at least at the time, the Senator Theater was one of the few historic theaters left in Baltimore. big screen, a nice plush theater. Of course, theaters today, you know, you've got the leather seats and they recline and all sorts of great stuff. But to see these films in a classic setting was fantastic, and I was able to do that. But they both came out in 2006. The Illusionist, I love it and hate it. You know, I love it and hate it. I love it because, again, it's set at the turn of the century. I love it because, by the way, this film, I believe, got the Academy Award for cinematography. And if you watch the film, you'll understand why. It is brilliantly shot. Again, the atmosphere is just beautiful. Edward Norton plays the magician in this film, and of course he is an A-list actor. What else can you want? I mean, he's just fantastic. And by the way, you know, Robert Houdin, who I believe this film was based on roughly, very loosely, said that a magician is an actor playing the part of a magician. When you see Edward Norton's performance in this film, I think you'll understand what he meant. You know, you take any A-list actor and you give them a script to do. You ask them to portray a magician, and you start to get a sense for what we can accomplish as magicians if we study the acting, trade, and we learn how to act. My wife said to me years and years ago, she watched performance after performance, and she said to me one day, you know what? I think your acting skill's getting a little better. And it just makes the performance that much better. But when you see Edward Norton in this, you'll say, wow, that's what a magician can do, right? So Edward Norton's performance is magnificent. Here's what I love about it. A lot of the illusions that are done or portrayed in this film are based on Robert Houdin illusions. The blooming orange tree, for example. The light, heavy chest is the light, heavy sword in this film. So you get, throughout the course of the film, you get to see what you've probably read about if you've read about Robert Houdin. So you get to see a lot of this stuff that you've only read about. So it's really cool for that reason. I love his stage performances, as I mentioned. They do some spiritualist stuff. Now, you know, I am very pro-spiritualism, so I don't like it when spiritualism is made fun of or put down. And they don't do that in this movie. In fact, you're confused. I think the audience is confused as to whether or not what he's doing is real. And I think that's a good thing. But Edward Norton is always in control. He's the magician. He's the illusionist. And so there's a bit of a murder mystery at play in the film. But simply told, the plot is set at the turn of the 19th century in Vienna. Edward Norton is a commoner, if you will. He's a professional magician. He's an illusionist. He's a star. He would be the David Copperfield of his day, but he's a commoner when it comes to the royal lineage. And from the time he was a child, he was in love with a woman who grew up to be a duchess. And the duchess is either betrothed or married to a prince in this film. And the prince is not a nice character. And he's the actor who portrays him is a wonderful actor, and I am very positively affected by his performances. Most recently he was in Victorian, which was utterly fantastic. But the character he portrays in this film, the prince, is not a likable person. He's an abuser. He's nasty. He's the kind of character that you love to hate. And isn't there one in every movie? I mean, you know, this is what they do. So Edward Norton is in love with a Jessica Biel character, and Jessica Biel is in love with him, but their caste, if you will, is keeping them apart. They're standing in society. It would be certainly scandalous if a duchess were to run off with a common magician illusionist. So, and the story kind of revolves around that a little bit. Again, without revealing too much of the plot, I was a little unnerved about how the story resolved, because I felt that however you might feel about a person's behavior, however unlikable that person might be, everyone's entitled to justice, if you understand my meaning there. Everyone's entitled to due process under the law. And I really didn't feel like that was served in this movie. So that, to me, that was a negative. But again, the positives far outweigh the negatives. It is brilliantly photographed. It is brilliantly acted. The magic is unbelievable. So Edward Norton's performance is over the top. So you know, these two movies, The Prestige and The Illusionist, must see if you are a magic fan. Now, both of these movies have will leave you feeling a little bit uneasy. This one because of the justice issue, and is it good, is it bad? It's really in the eye of the beholder. And this one, because of the intense rivalry and the extremes to which these men go, it just unnerves me. It did. So both of these left me feeling a little bit uneasy, but I love them. I've seen them multiple times. I highly recommend them to you. If you want to feel good after you watch a movie about magicians, you need to watch this one. Now, you notice this is a VHS. The VHS is available. It is in DVD format, but unfortunately, I have not been able to get my hands on the DVD format. So it's very difficult to get your hands on. But if you can watch this, this is a film called Magicians. The name in this film is Alan Arkin. He plays a retired magician who's kind of counseling these two guys that have partnered up. One of them is a con man, the other is an idealistic magician. And I love this character. He reminds me so much of me, you know, because he just has a passion for the art, and he wants to do the very best work he can do. But, you know, he gets himself into this trouble and that trouble, and things just don't work out for him until he meets his partner, and he meets Alan Arkin, and they, this poor waitress, and again, the story really hit home to me, because this waitress, who's portrayed by Claire Forlani, she's just fabulous. I remember when I asked Jill Kennard if she would work with me, and she said yes. We worked together for 10 years. We rehearsed at least once a week. We did shows on the weekend, or as often as we could. We didn't have a show every weekend, certainly. But she worked with me for a very long period of time, and she was eager, and she was willing, and she was a real trooper. And, you know, when I see Claire's performance in this, that's exactly what she brings to the part. And she's just willing to get in there and do it. She's willing to do whatever it takes, and it's precious. So what this film does that these films don't do, this is sort of you've probably seen movies where you feel like the characters become part of your family. They're people that you come to love, and they come to love each other. And they struggle with their lives, but they're so likable, and they're so honest, and they're so hardworking that you adore them. And I think that's what this film brings that maybe these two don't. To some extent, these characters are not as likable as the characters in this film. That's why I'm recommending this one, if you can get your hands on it. So do what you can for this one. I think you'll love it. This was made, by the way, in the year 2000. I don't think it got any accolades or awards. I'm not surprised, but if you're a struggling magician, or a successful magician, or an amateur magician, that's a film that you really ought to see. So anyway, folks, I haven't done a lot of reviews. I got tons of magic books here that I should probably go through and review at some point for you. Some of the great ones, some of the good ones, some of the biographies, some of the how-to books. So I'll certainly do that. But I wanted to bring those movies to you and encourage you to take a look if you haven't done so already. So folks, hey, listen, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe. If you haven't commented, please comment. Let me know your thoughts about this video. Let me know your thoughts about previous videos. send me an email, comment down below. I want to hear from you. I want to produce material that you want to tune in and see. I love doing this, and I want it to be meaningful for you too. Thank you, by the way. There have been a lot of people subscribing, a lot of people commenting over the last couple of weeks. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll see you next time. Have a great day.